Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook, along with producer Alden Iwani. I'm Ed Nunez. Today's special guest, St. Pius boys baseball coach Matt McCoy. His Sardins avenged last year's loss to the Academy Chargers in a big way, winning their 12th straight crown or 12th crown in school history, 15-2 over Academy on Saturday. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I'll tell you, Coach, you finished the season so strong, but I got to tell you, you and I talked a little bit, and I've known you for a little bit. You're a Pius graduate. You've got some great Pius alumni on your staff. We'll get to that a little bit later in the program. You mentioned when they put that SP on their hat, there's a lot of expectations from former head coach Lincoln Galassini, who wants and, coached baseball. People forget. They forget the late Lincoln Galassini, a great man, right? They forget that he coached baseball too.
Right.
George McAfee, he did some great things as well with the baseball program. Mark Hilton. Coach, again, a walk-off for Academy last year, right? And really last May or June, I believe. They ended the season in June.
Right.
So late because so going into the season, again, Pius and Academy, we're not talking about the rivalry there, right? If they play in anything, it's a big rivalry. Talk about the season and what the championship on Saturday meant to you and your St. Pius Sardins.
It just kind of closed everything out for us, right? Like, we left a lot on the table last June, and it was the greatest game I've ever been a part of, right? Like, there's a lot of twists and turns. There were lead changes and comebacks, and losing the lead, and top of the seventh, we're visitors. We're down 4-2. I tell our guys, like, okay, like, this, you write your script, right? Like, we can walk out there, hand them the trophy, 4-2, walk off the field as a second place team and be happy. Or let's put some pressure on them and see what we can do. Those guys scored 5 runs in that inning, and it just turned everything around, right? I mean, just a complete reversal. We put a ton of pressure on those guys, and so when we get into the bottom of the seventh, we're leading 7-4. We got to get 3 outs, and we were unable to do that. That's a brutal lineup. It was a brutal lineup last year. Again this year, brutal lineup 1 through 9. Those guys they're tough outs, man. It doesn't matter. You get Ethan Krebs out, you got to face Mark McNaney. You get Mark McNaney out, you got to face Devin Johnson, Henry Mitchell, right? Like Alex Gay. Those guys they're tough with the bat. They're amazing defensively. It's just a tough lineup. And last year, unable to get it done. We left it on the table. They win 8-7 on a walk-off. Devin Johnson puts that, hits a line drive that, I don't know if it stopped rolling yet, and it all the way to, in that left center gap, and those hallways are deep at UNM Field, and it was tough for us to go grab that, and they were able to score the 3 runs they needed to walk that off. And like I said before, we walked through that line and shook their hands and said, hey, congratulations to you guys, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again one day. And we were able to avenge that, come back, and make it back to the championship, both of us, luckily, right? Like, we were pushed to the limit by, Artesia's a tough team, Los Alamos a tough team, and we were able to get there. And, I mean, they were pushed as well. They were pushed with Aztec. Valley pushed them as well. So they beat Valley 4-2. They beat Aztec 4-3, and then it's our turn, right? So we were able to face off Saturday night and kind of finish that off.
That's baseball, right? That's baseball. And I remember the reaction. I did PA that game for the championship game last year, and I remember the scene in the outfield. You guys, you hate losing, right? You do. And I remember the guys. We had to call them back in. It's hard to lose. It is. Sometimes I think we don't celebrate wins enough. Losses destroy us. They do, and especially to an arch rival. I've got a little Pius background. I told you about that. I all know all about the Pius Academy rivalry. You were good sports about it. But talk about Los Alamos. You were behind against Los Alamos, right? You had to walk them off in the 7th inning. And that's what I mean, Coach, any road to any championship is not easy at all, right? There's going to be you're not going to just walk through it. And that's what makes winning one, you're second at the school, right? That's what makes it's so sweet, right? It wasn't, so talk about the game against Los Alamos, the semifinal. I was out there at Rio Rancho when you beat Artesia, but the one against Los Alamos, they were a tough team too. Talk a little bit about that game.
So we played them in 2020, not this year, but last year we played them in 21, doubleheader. We beat them the first game, and then they kind of came at us the same way they came at us in this semifinal game. They threw they threw number 10, and then they threw their third baseman at us, and we knew, and they beat us that way last year. And so I think they kind of figured like, okay, that's kind of a way to get them off balance or whatever. And it was, they kept us off balance for a bit. But I know you've done a few of our games this year. Our kids are, we called them kind of the cardiac kids, man. They did all their damage with 2 outs. They did all their damage late in the game, and they did all their damage when they're down. I mean, we counted the other day, we had 6 come from behind victories this year. And I mean, we had one, we were down 9-1 to Valencia in the 5th inning, so they had that experience of coming back, and, they just built their resume on that. And so there was never really any panic, I think, in the boys. There was a little panic in me, but I think the boys had it under control, and they felt like, we've been here before, we know how to get this done, we can do this. And they just chip away, man. Their mindset is what you need for this game, offensively and defensively, and it's just, they're fun to watch. They're fun to coach. They're fun to be around. They're great boys. But Los Alamos pushed us to the limit. I mean, you saw that. Like
7-6.
And we're trying. We're a great bunting team, and the 2 guys that I had up, and once we got bases loaded, I had 2 guys that handle the bat very well, and they're. Jacob Mays, he can bunt with the best of them, and then Miguel Seno right after that. Like, those guys can. I don't even watch the bunt half the time. Once I call it, I kind of turn around and know that it's going to get down. And those guys, they weren't able to get it done that day, and it was put a little panic. And we were able to. We had to insert Ben Martinez to the end of the lineup because of Jordan's injury, and we trust him completely. He's a great kid. He's a hard, mighty kid. Runs as fast as he can everywhere he goes. And once he put that ball in that 5-5 hole, in that deep, backhand hole to the shortstop, I figured there was a chance to get him across that first base safe. So he hustled out of the box. Luckily he was from the left side and able to get down the line and safe across that, and we were able to score Malachi from third and win that game. They pushed us, man. It was another fun game to be a part of, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, our goal is to get to the next day, and that could have very easily been Los Alamos versus even Aztec, right? So
yeah, Aztec. Alex Gato pitched a tremendous game against Valley, as did Caden Hohola. Pitched very well for Valley that day. He really did. Kept their lineup. The Academy was able to scratch a few runs off. Ricky Henderson went deep on Gato early in the game. After that, Alex struck out 16 that day, I believe, 16 batters.
No,
he's got tremendous mechanics, right? Throws the ball 88 to 90. Touches the spots, paints the black. An excellent pitcher. So that team that you played, and both of you had some tests to get there. Again, Coach, you mentioned baseball is a game of inches, and just like any other game, right? Who makes the plays? Sometimes it's going to be your team, and sometimes it's going to be the other team. And I think everybody involved wanted to see Pius Academy again. They did. When you have a game like, I remember, like I said, being in the PA booth, like, wow, it's too bad someone had to lose that one, right? But it was a tremendous game, and I think a lot of people wanted to see that. I wanted to mention Gene Trujillo. You only got him back late in the season. He had 4 home runs and 27 RBIs. I saw him in his first at-bat. Of course, Coach Ryan Myers, the basketball program, wasn't able to even use him this year. He had a shoulder problem, right? And I saw him with his first at bat, and he laced the single. I mean, a smoking. The kid, when he hits the ball, it makes a different sound off of the bat. Talk about, again, you've got a great lineup. Malachi Pena, the Sennas, Nolan Esterly, Jordan Rodriguez. You got a great lineup. You mentioned Academy's lineup. You have one too. Talk about what Gene Trujillo, when he came back in and hitting that 3-hole. You got him hitting in the 3-hole, right? You have him hitting at in the 3-hole.
Yes.
Talk about what he meant when he came back, because again, you got the 4 guy. He has a little bit more protection in front of him when Gene's in the lineup. Talk a little bit about what Gene meant to your lineup when he came back.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just it makes a different sound, right? Bat ball make a whole different sound when he's swinging. He's just a big, strong boy, and works his butt off. He after the game on Saturday, I went and I talked to every single one of the boys, and I told them, be careful, be safe, whatever you do tonight, just make sure you guys are safe. Gene was one of the boys that told me, I'm going home, I'm gonna go hit. So, there's no rest. He wanted to work some more. He's hungry. He wants to go get another one, and you commend him for that. But having him in that lineup, like you said, there's a lot of protection for our number 4 hole. We changed it a little bit throughout the year, but Cohen Mulville hit in that 4 hole. Malachi Pena's hit there too. So a lot of protection for that guy. We had, with Cohen hitting better towards this tournament, he was protecting Gene as well. So they couldn't just walk Gene to get to Cohen, or we would think, right? That's actually Chris on Saturday night first base was open after Lucas laid down a bunt. Lucas went all the way to second because they weren't protecting second base. And with first base open, he put Gene on first. And Cohen was able to come through with that ball that bounced. It must have bounced in the warning track and off the wall. So it was a 2-run double. But that was the job that he had to do, getting protected and protecting Gene as well. So coming through at that time was huge. And I think that one actually put us up by more than 10. I think that one put us up by 11. And then Malachi comes up and scores another couple, and we're better. But yeah, having Gene in the lineup, we're able to, tinker with it a little bit more. And not having him, right, that he could have helped us. We had close games against a few different teams, with Rio Grande and Cibola and those guys that we lost to, Rio Rancho. But he could have helped us a little bit in those games. So, but having him back is definitely he's so smooth. So he came back a whole different hitter. He was a little impatient last year, but this year he's just so relaxed and smooth back in that box. And it's just fun to watch him swing that bat. He just so much confidence, and that's what you need to be able to be successful at this game. A lot of confidence, right?
Artesia did a decent job of pitching to him, but then they did a decent job. They didn't let him extend the hands. They got him up and in. But I'll tell you, I did the game against Belen, and we'll talk about that game in the second segment, because that game was played in 50-mile-an-hour winds, right? Yeah. But both teams had their wind. One ball blew away from Belen guy, one blew away. I thought it was a great game, even though it was played in some conditions that nobody wanted to play in. But I thought it was a great game. I really did, because both teams had to deal with the elements. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have some pictures up of your championship team this year and talk more about this year's edition of the St. Pius Sergeants after these messages on the Sports Desk.
This game was scheduled for 9 a.m. We rescheduled it to the afternoon. But can Dalton Shilka stay alive? Oh, that one's a little long. And that does it. Game, set, and match in favor of Cameron King.
2-2 pitch. That's well hit. It might be trouble. No. Sliding catch and right by Noah Morluck.
That's a hit past the pitcher. And just like that, we'll have another runner come in. And wow, just like that. La Cueva strikes again as Melania Macias comes in.
Line to second for the double play. Leadoff base runner erased. He was straying a little far on a line shot to the shortstop long, and he turns and tosses it to Padilla for the double play.
What?
So the second serve from Boson is in. Cross-court action going on at this point, and it pays off for Boson.
Make a play. There is the bunt, popped it up again. Long run, Cooper, and he's going to make the play. Catchers showing off their leather in this one. I'm out of it. In off the hands, right at Karras. He's going to short hop, scoop that, and turn the double play, maybe. Yes!
Whoa.
Double play! Karras let that one drop, and then a really tough hop. He certainly did that on purpose.
Wow, that's a shot. Wow, that'll do it. Oh my gosh. Man, a shot to center field over the fence for Genesis Jaramillo. And that's it, man. 10-0. Bears with the hot bats right now.
He is bunting. Got it way in on the kitchen there. And a great diving catch by the catcher, Trujillo.
What great play, what great hustle by Trujillo right there.
That's well hit to Cooper. It is high. It is deep. It is showing an in-flight movie. Home run, David Cooper.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
For certified collision and body repair, visit the experts at Car Crafters. 5 locations in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. Visit carcrafters.com.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with St. Pius boys baseball coach Matt McCoy. His St. Pius Sardins avenging last year's 2021 defeat to the Academy Chargers, beating the Chargers 15-2 on Saturday for the school's 12th championship. Coach McCoy, it's your second championship being at Academy. And there's some highlights there from the game at Santa Ana Star Field on Saturday, Coach. You got? Can you see those highlights?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, Coach, and talk a little bit about that. Everybody expected a tight game, right? Because of last year. You mentioned to me when I talked to you, you had a defensive strategy, and your fielding percentage is very high as a team. Talk a little bit about, you don't have to give away all your chips, man. We're not asking that. Coaches play those close to the vest, baby. I get it. Yeah. But talk a little bit about your defensive strategy going to what a great moment that is, Coach, to see your kids piling up. Talk a little bit about your defensive strategy before the game.
I feel bad for Jordan there. If you look, Jordan's off to the side. He never jumped on the pile with his broken arm. So he has his hand in there.
Probably just as well. We don't want another broken arm. Anyway, talk a little bit about your defensive strategy going to the game.
Right. So I think we had talked a little bit earlier about how many hours Damian spent scouting.
Damian Segura, yes.
And that's what we did. We coaching staff. I have Gary Romero, a Pius grad. I have Jim Stebbins, came over from Rio Rancho. Chris Mondragon, who's kind of been a journeyman throughout a lot of different programs. We had those guys, and we watched 6, 7 academy games this year, and we knew where they stood in the box. We knew what they did with 2 strikes. We knew their tendencies. And at the end of the day, it's difficult, right? They're still 17, 18-year-old kids. And, I mean, you can't shift the entire defense over, but you can move over a tiny bit to their tendencies. And that's kind of what we did. If we had Chris Mondragon, the entire game was calling out 4 or 5 steps to the left, to the right. And when Devin Johnson was up a little bit back, right? So it was just, we knew their tendencies and the way that we had a great defensive plan in place, but to make all of that come together, we needed a heck of a pitching performance.
Right.
And we got that, right? If that wouldn't have happened, if Nolan wouldn't have been on, if his curveball wouldn't have been on, if he wasn't able to come outside with his pitches, it wouldn't have worked. But he was spot on that day. And I mean, I know he hit Henry a couple of times. That's just because we were trying to go a little more in on those guys. And they hadn't had that much this year, right? So we hit him a couple of times, and then he pops out to the catcher in his final at bat, first out of the 5th inning. So that defensive plan that we had was I mean, it was executed perfectly. And like I said, with the pitching performance that was given that night, we were able to execute that defensive plan.
Well, limiting the Chargers, who are, you mentioned, a great lineup, 1 through 9 to 2 runs is amazing, right? And while you scored 15, that is a great outburst when you needed it the most, and kind of anticlimactic, right? Because everybody was expecting a 4-3 nail biter like it was last year. I remember. Last year I'm like, hey, Pius has got the lead. We'll see what bottom of the 7th, and then Academy comes through with their half, and they win the championship. And I think everybody wanted to see this, the same repeat of that, right? Because it's such an exciting, one of the best games anybody has ever seen, right? In state tournament history, I would say, right?
For sure.
No question. So, a little bit anticlimactic, but hey, man, those things happen sometimes. Coach, I wanted to ask you, you've got a 99-23 record as St. Pius head coach, 5 district championships in a row. What did you learn or take from former head coach Mark Hilton? What did you take from him?
He's a great guy, right? He gave me a job and took a chance on a guy that wasn't really a baseball guy, and he let me kind of just run with his C team and implement the program's base running, the program's rundowns. I mean, that's what we practiced. That's what I wanted to get the C team guys ready for JV the next year. And so they would never have to practice base running or rundowns or those little tiny things, those little intricacies of the program. We do a certain way at Pius. And so and a guy like that, just, I mean, he was able to take a chance on me. And he was real. He wasn't a very overly animated guy. He was very mellow when he was in the third base box, and his relationship with umpires was very good. And that's kind of what I've been able to implement into my coaching, repertoire, I guess, right? And taking that from him. But he's a good guy. I appreciate him for giving me a chance, and I'm able to use a few things that he implemented, and a little bit of a mentor.
You didn't play baseball at Pius.
No, sir.
You played football, so I think there was a lot of different things that you learned, and you're still learning. There's situational baseball, right? You lost to Berlin and then reeled off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row, and before that you lost to Rio Grande and won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. So 14 out of 15 to end the season wins. You lost again. I thought that loss to Berlin, though, those things can happen, right? It could have been 13-10 Pius that day, but it was again, people would say you couldn't even see the mountains that day, right? Because the wind, the dust.
Right.
But I thought again, you might have lost, but it was a well played game. And sometimes losses refocus. They tell us, hey, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were, right? How did that loss did it affect the team at all in any way at all, negative way at all?
So that was our senior day. It's a rough day for those guys to lose, right? That senior
That's right.
group,
That's right. I forgot about
senior
that.
group. They hadn't lost a district game in 4 years. Hadn't lost a district game in 4 years. That was me and my coaching staff. That was our first home district loss ever.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll affect you a bit, right? But they know that it was our goal wasn't to beat Belen. Our goal was to win district, and we're gonna take some lumps, and we could have easily lost to Valencia. We could have easily lost to Grants. They're great teams. Our district is going to be so tough next year. We were basically at everybody's senior day, and I think everybody's graduating too. Valencia graduated too, Grants graduated too, Belen graduated too, and we graduated 3. So our district's going to be a heck of a district next year. So I expect more games like that next year with all of them, with Valencia, with Belen, and Grants. And but like you said, our goal at that point it wasn't to beat Belen. I mean, yeah, that's what you want to do, especially senior day, that kind of stuff. But they want to come in and spoil it for you too. Our goal was to win district, and we were lucky enough to get that done. Our district got four teams in.
Right.
So, and one of them, Grants, was a 4 seed, which was higher than 2 district champions. Right. So it just that's a testament to how tough this district is. And to see those guys 2 times every season, it makes us better. And when they're better, we're better. And that's what we want, right? Our district coaches meeting has gotten much better, and it's been a lot easier, but we still fight for our guys, and we want our guys to get certain accolades and that kind of stuff. And but we've all become kind of a little bit of friends now. And Tommy Wisniewski's a Pius grad. Walter Saraceno, I use him as a little bit of a mentor as well. He's a 33-year coach. This year, making it to the quarterfinals. That's the furthest he's been in 33 years. And I mean, you're pulling for a guy like that, right? To
oh yeah, you bet.
To beat Aztec and get to the semis.
You're right. Sometimes it's the breaks of the game, right? Sometimes they go, and it goes in any sport, coach, right? They break for you, or sometimes they break against you. And this year, they certainly broke for the St. Pius Sardines. And coach, I tell you what, you return a lot of your players for next season, so the future looks bright indeed for the Sardines going forward. Coach Matt McCoy, St. Pius boys baseball coach, winners over the Albuquerque Academy on Saturday, 15-2 for the school's 12th baseball title. Thanks so much for being our guest today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.